Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Intuitive Insights. I am your host, Dr. Yolanda Dukes, and today I have a very exciting guest for you. He is a fellow IMM ordained minister, and his name is Adam Hayden, and he is here today to talk to us about bringing in magic in the new year and some of the special tools that he uses that will help you as well to bring in the best you in this new year. Welcome, Adam. How are you?
I am doing very fine, Dr. Dukes. How are you doing this fine morning?
I am excited to talk to you. Once again, we find ourselves in this beautiful Zoom format.
Right?
How's the weather out there where you're at?
It is currently 8 in the morning, so I am completely unsure how the weather's going to be because that's beautiful Washington for you.
That is awesome. We have a nice cold morning here in Euless, Texas, and it is beautiful, might I add. Cold, chilly, and wonderful. So tell me, Adam, what do you do? How did you get into metaphysics?
I was introduced to metaphysics at a very young age. At about the age of 7, I heard about a lot of different esoteric practices, and back then I didn't know that there was a term for it. It was just something I did, manifesting psychic ability, being able to counsel and help others growing up. In fact, since a young age and stuff, everyone used to come to me for advice, and so I wanted to help them better, so I got into stuff like psychology, religion, history, just get a better understanding of other people and how I can help them, achieve their own goals. It wasn't until about the year 2001, after a long time of, writing up, certain psychic impressions that unfortunately are happening in our world now today. So about 2001, I discovered the beautiful University of Metaphysics and decided it is time for me to, get some real good schooling, get my life on track, and, get out there and help more people. Well, I ended up, the only problem with branching out into new areas of awakening is that you end up having to wake up. And so I hit a few rock bottoms. I got wrapped up in drug abuse and infidelity. I went the whole gamut. And eventually, way life led me, I ended up in prison. I came out of there sober, my mind on straight. I had mental health disorders that I had no clue of growing up, which now makes sense. And it was metaphysics that helped me bring that balance in my life. No longer being bound by physical substances, finding a sense of self, thanks to Dr. Master's work. And that's what really steamboated me forward. Now, because of those things in my life, I actually didn't finish and graduate until 2016. But by then, I had integrated so much of the practices of the University of Metaphysics and a few other interesting pathways I had followed that here I am now.
That's a beautiful body of experience. I'm sure painful while you're going through it, but hindsight's incredibly beautiful, right?
Definitely. I would not be the strong person I am now. I would not be able to bring so much light if I didn't see that darkness.
Most definitely.
And that's what I credit to. That there's a phrase by a old occultist, Dion Fortune. She said, the darker the shadow, the brighter the light. And so I really embraced that. I learned that even with my darkness, I can shine so much light in other people's lives. And it was actually this year, 2020, that I said, you know what, I have no other choices. My body's falling apart. I've got a really bad bad back. I got an abutted nerve. So even just bending over hurts like heck. And so finding work is difficult. I've got a beautiful wife and a 4-year-old daughter that I got to support. And I'm like, you know what? It's like the universe saying, okay, Adam, it's time to get out there. It's time to do this. It's time to do interviews, write books, and branch out in your own ministry, because what else have you got to do?
Exactly. Yes. The universe does push you into that corner. And especially when, like, I'm typically pretty shy. So the thought of interviewing people and being on all these radio stations was kind of a big shock,
Right?
in the beginning. Yes. Yes. But it's like, oh, okay, I get to be a rock star for a few minutes. And then when I'm done, I get to go clean up after the dog and make breakfast. It balances itself out, right?
Cuddle myself on the couch with the blanket, sucking my thumb, saying, I made it, I made it, I made it.
However, you got to get through it, right?
Right.
It's been a beautiful journey. And it does, after speaking with so many people, it seems like we find the university when we are emotionally, physically, spiritually broken. Nothing has worked. And it's just, I mean, you too, you studied other things other than metaphysics. You have other degrees as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, I do have a degree in psychology, and I finished up a course, Witchcraft 1 with the Temple of Witchcraft, under the tutelage of Christopher Penczak. And I find that they all harmonize together. And
how so? Yeah. How does witchcraft play into metaphysics?
Well, the basic idea of spellcraft is based on the same principles as metaphysics. It's very hermetic. You've got the 7 spiritual laws. You've got the belief in, 7 various planes of existence that fits with the chakra system. You've got the basic idea of spell work. You got intention, you got word, thought, an action. You've got it's basically the same principles with a little more, I say, natural aesthetic. It achieves the same goal as metaphysics and the New Thought movement is explained by Dr. Masters. Now, I want to make sure that we say that what I do as a witch is not really something that the University of Metaphysics focuses on. They focus on pure mind. Some of us need those extra symbols and those extra vibrations to achieve goals. And that's where witchcraft, the using of herbs, stones, stuff like tarot cards and stuff that really bring out more of one's individual truth. So there's really not much difference between metaphysics in general and what me and many others under witchcraft. It's basically one's more transcendental and another one's more immanent in the earth. Mm-hmm. And I believe that there should be a heavy balance between the two.
I think it's definitely going back to what you said before about the shadow self. This is about integration. And when you're coming upon metaphysics, the desire is to shield yourself from your darkest parts. But as you push it away, it's fighting to cling to you because it wants to be unveiled. It wants to reveal itself to you so that you can say, this is my dark. I accept that this is my dark, and I'm integrating that with my light as well.
Exactly. And even in, not just metaphysics, but even in psychology and stuff, you got what's called the 3 minds. You got the higher self, the middle self, and the lower self. The lower self is very much the child self. It sees things in symbols and emotion. The higher self is the more transcendental, more eternal. And the middle self is the conscious self, how, our daily interactions. So when we go into meditation or do certain rituals and stuff, we're silencing the conscious self, listening to the child self. Now, the child self is directly, intimately connected to the higher self. The higher self can only speak to us through symbols. And so when we sublimate the conscious self, we are reaching into the child self, and it's in the child self where we have all the shadow work. It's those things that, you know, as children and stuff, we love to do: pull people's hair, laugh at people, you know, doing messed up stuff. You know, it's those things. It's very much the child self, and it slowly grows into what we later call the shadow self. And through very shamanic, you know, different shamanic methods, we bring forth those parts of ourselves that we may not necessarily be happy about, but we can sit there and see it for what it is, sublimate those parts of ourselves, and use it as a springboard to listen to our higher self. And so, yes, shadow work is like one of the most important things I'd have to say that any metaphysician, witch, Christian, or any other religious path can do, you know, because a undeveloped look at one's shadow will turn up in what Dr. Masters called neurosis, where the inner does not harmonize with the outer. And that can even turn very deadly. We see a lot of religious fundamentalists who have not sublimated their shadow self, projecting their neurosis on the world around them. And I think, honestly, that's something we got to be on the lookout, you know, in the next, I'd say, 6 months, especially with the things going on politically here in the United States. A lot of shadow work needs to be done. A lot of shadow work.
Definitely. And I would urge those that are listening, watching, to not be afraid of what's coming out in the political arena. I mean, it's as if we've been living in darkness. We've been told up is down, and everything is really and truly inside out in the rabbit hole.
Yes.
And things are righting themselves. So praise what is and see the best in what is. I think when we individually and collectively learn to pull that beautiful, the best out of every situation, we can't help but thrive in it. And that's what I would say to the viewers. Thrive in whatever's going on. If you have time to be alone, enjoy that alone time. Learn to meditate. Learn to be with yourself. Confront your shadows. What else would you say to those that are going through lockdown? How are you approaching the lockdown and quarantine situations yourself?
This has been the best time, honestly, to do that kind of shadow work. There's a hermetic practice I learned, I think I was like 9 years old, from a book by a man named Donald Michael Craig. He wrote a book called Modern Magic, 11 Lessons in the High Magical Arts. And he drew upon a lot of Kabbalistic, you know, Jewish mysticism, psychology, because he was really good friends with Israel Regardie, who was also a ceremonial magician of the Golden Dawn. And I'm
familiar with his work.
Yes. And he mentions an exercise, and it can be dangerous. You know, I'm not saying dangerous as in, summoning demons or anything like that, but it's dangerous because you're bringing forth parts of your shadow self, and you are literally facing it, you know, one-on-one. And this exercise is called the IOB. You identify the shadow, you objectify it, you literally create in your mind's eye a physical representation of this aspect of yourself. You get to know it, you talk with it, you realize what parts of it is in you, and then the letter B, you banish it. Now, that's how most people do it. I don't banish. Why banish something that's a part of you? Because all you're doing is going to open up an area in yourself where something else can come in.
Yeah, it's bringing together.
Nature abhors a vacuum. So instead, I do I identify, I objectify, and I what's the term? I sublimate. I integrate. Thank you. It was another I word. Yes. I integrate it into my life. I look at what those negativities are, and spin them around as a positive. Like for myself, I used to be a big alcoholic. I took pills, you know, it became a very dark side of me. Um, and instead of looking at it as, oh, woe is me, you know, I was an addict and stuff, I go, okay, yes, I was an addict. But what we learn in you know, 12-step groups and stuff is that the best way to keep yourself on course is to take on an apprentice, you know, help someone else, you know, be someone sponsored. And so a lot of my clients had come from these kind of backgrounds. And so because of that darkness in me, I can help bring light to their darkness. And
Yes.
so
Oh, yes.
sublimating this and integrating it as part of yourself instead of banishing it away will make you a stronger metaphysician, will make you a stronger person in general, and make you more loving and caring. Something that
Yes.
sadly has decreased in the last couple of years.
But
So
that's what all this coming up is about. I mean, look at the way people are what's being shown in the political arena. Children in cages, children being separated from their family members. These are not, this is not conducive of a loving society.
no,
It's not conducive of yelling at people to go back home when the reality is you've taken their land. So they are home, you know? So some things can be a bit short-sighted. And I urge people to do the best you can to look at things from the bigger picture. One of the things that I love the most that has metaphysics has got its grip on me because of its inclusiveness. It doesn't matter who you are, where you came from, or what your background is. You are that light. You're there for a reason. So I don't see accidents anymore. I don't see
right,
people in such terrible circumstances. You're there for a reason. Once you figure that reason out and integrate it, if you don't live in the most perfect
yep.
place, integrate that. This is not where I want to be, but I'm here for a reason.
Exactly. Like even in my own living situation, as you see, I got a sheet up. It's because in the last windstorm and stuff, part of my roof caved in. But I'm here. I'm doing my what I need to do, and I just kind of cover it
Hey,
up
there
for
was a
now because
time
I
when
need to.
I had a sheet behind me not but a year ago, you know,
Right?
because all I had was a wall. There wasn't anything else, you
But
know.
see, that's exactly it and stuff. Is that you're in a place for a reason, and in fact, this was part of the springboard. Me and my wife and my father-in-law are actually looking to move into a better place. Now, this house um, has been my father-in-law's for almost 30 years. You know, we're actually almost in the process of paying it off. We get like 5 grand left, and then we can sit there and flip it out. And so it's going to be a big change. But we needed to be here at this moment, at this time, because I've always used excuses. The only reason I haven't gone and did my own videos is I don't have a place for it. It's not quiet enough. I kept on making excuses this whole 2020. And then, you know, then I had, you know, then we talked, and then Rev Reg came in, and now it's like the universe saying, it doesn't matter what's around you. You've got something inside you that needs to be coming forth. And so you need to quit worrying about appearances and stuff and just do. And,
Oh,
and
most
you're right.
definitely,
It's time to do.
most definitely. So what the viewers don't realize is that, of course, we go to the same university,
Mm-hmm.
so we've had outside conversations, and I saw that you were advertising for tarot reading,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought, I'm going to do this. This is the perfect time. I obviously need to hear what you have to say. I was very drawn to what you were doing, and we had an awesome reading. It was
Oh,
very
it was
accurate.
amazing.
It
It
was
was
very
very amazing. In fact, it was actually one of the shortest tarot readings I've ever done. Um, you know, because I draw on, you know, my degree in psychology. I draw on. Um, I learned tarot at a very young age. My grandfather was a posh rat. He was part gypsy. He was what they called a settled gypsy, and so he taught me tarot. He taught me palmistry. I don't remember much of that. because I was really little, about 7 years old. But tarot stuck with me. And I learned also from the same book by Donald Michael Craig that Carl Jung, one of my heroes, actually used tarot in his counseling sessions. I'm like, so I could be doing this with my pastoral care? Really? No
Yeah,
way.
right.
And so
Yeah.
people sit there, they still have that mojo about it. They're like, oh, tarot cards, oh, beware the death card, it means you're going to die. And nothing's ever that simple.
No.
And and so I started weaving what I learned in my bachelor's degree in psychology to apply it to my tarot readings. And I've been, not to toot my own horn. Wait, actually, is it Tuesday? Yes, it is Tuesday.
It is Tuesday. You
I
may
will
toot
toot
away.
my own horn. I will toot my own horn.
Toot
My tarot
away.
readings have never been so spot on as they have this last year. And I think it's because I've got a message. I think it's because people are ready to start listening
Yes.
to the messages around them. People
Yes.
are ready to branch out and open up. I've had actually quite a lot of what could be styled as liberal Christians who are completely anti-tarot come to me and say, I know this is against what I'm supposed to believe, but I need some advice during this quarantine. And so I'd sit and do a reading for them. They're like, why didn't I do this sooner? That gave me so
Yes.
much more insight, if not into the idea of, woo-woo future telling, but it gave me an insight into my own psychology, to the things that held me back. And all I can say is, these are just tools. These cards are just tools for me as as someone with a psychological degree and as a metaphysician to help you bring forth what's already inside you to a conscious level, kind of like I would mention about the three minds, the higher self, the lower self, and the middle self. Same principle. You're just bringing what's already inside your client or inside yourself and bringing it out to an area that you can understand it.
Yes. And I see the past that you described. I've interviewed so many intuitives, and there are some very similar things. Because as an intuitive, the world you're born into, your surroundings, your family members can make you feel a little nuts. That, you're off, there's something wrong with you, you're not seeing things the way we do, so it's you. But I told people years ago, you guys might want to think about growing some food. I don't know what's coming, but it
Right.
seems like things are going to be quite challenging. I was told I was crazy, I was insane, I should be talking like that. Nobody wants to hear it. Hey, I'm giving you an opportunity. What you do with that is on you. But I was not out running around looking for toilet paper. I will tell you that much.
No,
That was
actually,
not happening.
you are pretty spot on. Like I'd mentioned, at the age of 7, I started having dreams, very horrible, terrifying dreams. But I was also raised in a very fundamentalist Christian household. And so having prophetic type dreams where you're describing stuff that is going on in like Bosnia or whatever, and your family's very cued into politics, as mine is, and you start seeing these things come to pass and stuff. You look at that child, and all you can think is demon spawn. My nickname growing up was Witch Child, and I spent all my time in my room. I had such a desire to learn more about these, what I now see as gifts,
Yes.
so I could control them, so I could stop them, so I could be normal. And I went through a lot of abuse because of it. There was physical abuse, mental abuse, spiritual abuse, sexual abuse. There was a lot of stuff that really messed with my head, which might explain, the road the path I ended up taking with embracing that darkness. Um, but it was during that time that I started dreaming about, civil war, religious war, and this was, way back in like 1990 and stuff. And so I learned at a young age to get it out, to get the visions out of my head so I can even sleep at night, as I started to journal. I journaled everything. I journaled what I did during the day. I journaled, thoughts and premonitions. I journaled visions I had. I still journal every day. And it wasn't until the year 2000 that, after talking to a few friends, the few people I let into my circle, I started telling them about, well, in about 10, 15 years, we're going to start seeing this. So, if you can get a piece of land, get a piece of land. Start learning to, survival skills. Learn skills that can act as currency.
Yes.
I had read in 95 a beautiful book, and I'm pretty sure you know the book series, Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh.
Yes.
And what did God in those books say the new currency would be? It would be information. Information. We would go to a non-physical currency, which we're seeing right now.
Yes.
We're looking into with that non-physical currency where everyone's checkbook is open. There's no hiding anything anymore.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of people are scared of that, which is fine. But the thing is, we won't see as much corruption because you can't hide it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I started seeing these even before I read that series. And it was at the year 2000 where I really started blasting it, because then we started having social media. There was a way to get my words out and still hide behind a keyboard.
Yes, basically.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was about then, I started getting all of it out. People used to call it word vomit and stuff. Yeah, that stuff can't happen in the United States. Well, about the year 2015 started happening. We started seeing the slow rise of the religious right. We saw, like now we're seeing the breakdown of the whole Republican Party. We're seeing even a fight among the Democrats between, conservative Democrats, which I consider as blue Republicans, from the 80s Republicans. And then you have the extreme left, which honestly, I'm a very big progressive, AOC all the way personally. Love that woman. But the thing is we're seeing a big change in consciousness. We're seeing it in a lot of books. A lot of books that came out and stuff are really starting to see the limelight again. Like books on indigo children, we're seeing again. We're seeing a big rise in developing psychic ability. We're seeing a big rise in nature reverence. We're seeing a big rise in just looking at the world around us as that everything has a personhood, that everything is animate, has personality, and interacts with others. So we're seeing a lot concerning climate change. We're seeing rise of new diseases, which have a consciousness.
Yes.
We're seeing the destruction of land, and the land's getting angry. So you're seeing floods and tidal waves and great storms and snow where there never is snow and sun where there's never sun. I mean, not that couple months ago, I think Alaska had the highest temperature it's ever had. It was even higher than my state of Washington. We're seeing a great bit of communication between the seen and the unseen world. And we've got to really bring that back, particularly, and I hate to constantly bring this up, but I'm seeing even in the world of metaphysics and stuff, a cut off from the physical world. We're getting so transcendental that we're forgetting that we are in this world. We can utilize the tools of the divine mind, but we live in this world. We've got to recognize that we can go into higher states of consciousness, and we can rise among the planes. We can touch divine mind, but if we can't bring it down to earth and in our interactions with others, not just humans, but not other non-human entities, we're not going to see any true lasting peace within ourselves and within the events around us. And so I think it's very important that we see that everything's interconnected. The way 2020 developed is based on broken pacts, broken covenants, broken promises that we made with the world around us way back when those other than human entities gave us the gifts of speech, of writing. If it wasn't for those interactions that allowed us to take that next step in our evolution, we wouldn't be where we are now. So we have to give back what was taken. Every person who's born is born with a spiritual debt, because our bodies are filled with countless life, not just your cells. It's got a consciousness of its own, a rhizomic consciousness that we work with to live. If we don't bring in enough sustenance, which is also life from outside of us, fruits, veggies, steak, all that stuff, has a consciousness and a life of its own that's been given, we've got to give back. Whether it's in a compost pile or whether it's cleaning up trash, we've got an obligation to give back. And if we want to really bring 2021 to be a wonderful year, we've got to have a conscious interaction with the world around us. In my practice of what I call fairy traditionalism, we see disease, the chill of winter and stuff as a consciousness, as a living conglomeration of entities, such as folkloric would be like the wild hunt. It's got a consciousness. It's out there. It's shooting us with its elf arrows of sickness. And if we don't know how to heal those poisoned wounds and stuff, we may die. And it's through conscious interaction with the personhood of COVID, the personhood of Ebola, the personhood of frickin' diabetes. It's all got a personhood. It's all got a source of nourishment. It's also got a source of, this is what I do. I am a disease. I do this.
It's like following the nature of things. When you
Yes.
understand the nature of things, then you do tend to understand the world. And again, metaphysics is king on that because it is inclusive. And my guides were very specific. Before I found the university and my awakening began, the simple way they explained it to me is that you are God. You can't be anything other than God because there's nothing else to make anything out of.
Yes.
So just in that simplicity. So what I would want people to take into the new year is understanding that you as an individual have accumulated karma. That's neither good or bad because we live in a reflective universe.
Yes.
So your stuff is going to be reflected in other people and in things that you don't like. But what we're not talking about is the fact that culture also has karma, places have karma, governments have karma, and everything that we know over 50, 60 years of what the US has done to other places, it might not hurt to take a little bit of shelter. It may not hurt to put some plants in the ground, to plant some fruit trees so that you and your family, make it smoothly through this political turmoil.
And that's exactly what it is. This political turmoil is, as you mentioned, it's a karmic debt. Particularly, I view it as Donald Trump gave us the keys to do some really deep shadow work as a nation.
Yes.
To really look in the past to see, okay, what messed up stuff did United States do to become the superpower they are now? The genocide among the Native Americans, the destruction of their natural, sacred places. I mean, Mount Rushmore. When I found out how important that structure was before the United States came in and carved their white people faces all over it, I was horrified. Do you know how many entities and stuff that probably pissed off? No
Almost
wonder, no
definitely.
wonder America's going through some stuff. I mean,
And
it's not like
even,
it's not like it's not like our nation's built over American burial grounds or anything.
oh yeah, nothing like that.
Nothing like
And
that.
even the destruction of the culture of the Native American history, what a lot of people don't realize, that during the Trail of Tears, if you identified as Indian, Native American in the South, they literally came to your house and made you walk from Mississippi to Oklahoma. And that was the Trail of Tears. So you not only had a, a culture divided, you had families divided because not everybody could go. And the people that stayed behind not lost their tribal identity and became a whole new people, a people without history.
Yes.
And that is significant. These things have got to come out. They are
Yes.
being revealed. I'm watching them be revealed. I'm thankful that they're being revealed, but
Yes.
it is a history to be reckoned with,
It
most
is.
definitely. So, do you have any advice, any last words for preparing yourself for going into 2021?
2021, I believe, is going to be year 2 of shadow work. And so my top advice would be get into your feelings,
Yes.
do a lot of meditation. Now, I'm not saying, sit there and, a lot of people don't understand what meditation really is. It's not sitting there going, What it is it's about focusing your conscious mind on an external element to allow this to go through and do its thing. Everyone's going to have initially 1,000,000,001 thoughts come to your head. The best thing to do when that happens, while you're sitting there in front of a candle with some beautiful music, maybe some incense, is grab a journal, grab some paper, and just scribble those thoughts. Just let it flow through you, because those thoughts will help you focus your intention. You're going to see where your concerns are, and it might even give you some clues on how to get through them. Your guides will guide you in those meditations, whether you consciously can hear them or not. Your guides are always there. Divine Mind's always there. And you just have to become receptive enough to allow the monkey mind to do its thing, get it out of your head by writing it down, and then reflect over it. That is the key, in my personal opinion, to meditation, is to get out, is to get your feelings out, get your thoughts out, and then reflect upon them.
Most
So
definitely.
I've
So
seen
for those who,
2021. Yes, I've seen
awesome.
2021 being that, because now it's not going to be so much the political arena right now, is because everyone's so exhausted from the political arena this last year that now they're going to sit there and go, well, how do I want to have 2021 be for me? So they're going to look within. And so, yes, I would say work on various forms of meditation. Find the one that works for you, because my way may not work for you and it may not work for the next person, but there are so many different ways to sit there and learn to meditate. And actually, one of my good friends had published a book recently. And even if you're not inclined towards Wicca, witchcraft, and stuff, it has got to be one of the best books I've ever read on developing psychic power. And it is called Psychic Witch by Matt Aaron. And you'll be able to find a link for this book on my Facebook page. It'll be on Reverend Adam Hayden Ministries, and I will put it up there. It's one I'm going through right now, and I'm just like, if I would have had this when I was 7 years old, so many things would have been different. But I
it wasn't
highly
meant to
recommend it.
be. That's what I've learned, that we came in as very intuitive, but we still have to be able to relate to what humanity is going through. And choosing a metaphysician is very much like that. You go to who you're gravitated toward because you probably have very similar experiences.
You're
and
finding your tribe.
Yes.
You're finding your tribe.
Yes. So what services do you offer to people?
I offer a variety. I kind of consider myself a metaphysician of all trades, master of none. My focus is actually spiritual coaching. I'm a good gopher. You know, if someone's looking for a particular answer or looking to develop their spirituality better, I'll help you find what you need to take that next step. Whether it's a spell that I found in a book, a beautiful meditation piece I found on YouTube, whether it's a tarot reading to get out what's inside you. I do a lot of healing modalities, particularly chakra, energy work. And because of the pandemic, my focus has been more on distance healing, which has been highly effective. But mostly I do kind of spiritual guidance. You know, I just kind of lead people to where they naturally need to go for them.
Definitely. It's like confirmation.
Yes.
It's
and
like you're looking in that area for a reason. And I'm just here to confirm with you that, yes, this is a wonderful direction for you. Yes. And what tools do you use? You have tarot, runes?
I use tarot. I do. I don't do runes so much right now as I'm putting myself into a rune intensive. I'm going through reconnecting with my rune set because each of them has personality. But I do tarot. I do pendulum work. I use various crystals and plants, herbs, stuff like that. I do use sound. I'm not very well practiced on distance guided meditations, but I can do past life regressions. I can do, you know, traveling through the planes. You know, I'm very keen on stuff like that, but I'm not sure how it would work through long distance, especially with the electronic arena getting so bogged down that, you know, you got a lot of stuttering. And so I'm not sure about that, but I do that usually in person, but I'm willing to branch out and, you know, provide those services well. But yeah, mostly tarot readings, pastoral coaching, and distance healings is my primary sought out services.
So for those three, do you perform those over Zoom or those phone calls?
I am very new to Zoom. I usually do it during phone calls, but with beautiful Washington weather, that's not always very available because, like I said, my living circumstances, I got a beautiful tent in my backyard. I call it my tabernacle, and I do all my work out there. But when the wind blows, sometimes it's hard to hear. Sometimes the tent blows over.
Okay, I got you.
You know, but yeah, I usually do it through phone calls. But I am learning Zoom. I am learning these new fancy methods of communication, and
helpful.
Yeah, very helpful. But you can find all my services, all my stuff on Facebook, Reverend Adam Hayden Ministries. Not hard to find. It'll be, I think the username is at Reverend Hayden.
Okay. On Facebook, do you have a website as well?
I do have a website. It is reverendadamhayden.weebly.com. Eventually, I'm hoping to actually purchase the domain. That would be cool, but I'm not too worried about that. But I also have a Patreon that I'm slowly building. I've got various tiers on this Patreon account. Some of them are for like clients who are more focused on distance healing. So I got a distance healing tier where you get 2 distant healing 1-hour sessions once a month, $20 suggested donation, and an automatic 50% discount on any other services such as tarot readings or spiritual coaching. I'm not too sure about that as I'm really new to the whole business side of the game. You know, actually getting out there. So I'm still toying around. Those things may change and stuff, but if people would like to go over there and become a patron of my ministry, you guys can even help me figure the stuff out because I really don't understand it.
We have wonderful wonderful friends, really wonderful
Right.
people you can connect with at the university. I want to thank everybody for catching this next episode of Intuitive Insights, and thank Reverend Hayden for being here and sharing his fairy wisdom, his magic, his insights for 2021, and helping you to get through 2021 in a helpful, productive, successful manner, because you can be successful even when it looks like the world is going insane. I want to send my love, my light, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We are working on growth this year. Be part of it. Be with us. You are wonderful, and I love you. Take care of yourselves. Happy 2021.